Welcome back to 5-Minute Ethics. In the last show, we talked about the legal product and that you are both a fiduciary and a professional. But it doesn't mean much if you don't have a client. In this show, we'll talk about how to get a client. As we get into the world of marketing and advertising, take care to keep your eye on the ball. You are a professional and your services are professional services. You're not selling law and you're not engaged in a commercial transaction. It's critical that you grasp the difference because it defines the client's expectations. I've had one job in my life. I sold shoes for Yonkers Department Store. Their motto was satisfaction always, and their operating standard was the customer is always right. That's a commercial standard, and it doesn't work well in the law. More often than not, your customer, the client, isn't always right, and they're not always going to be satisfied with your advice, especially when you have to tell them that they're going to have to go to prison for what they did, and the best you can do is to get them a shorter term in a better place. Oftentimes, the best advice you can give your client is no. A few years ago, I got a letter in the mail from a client whom I'd long forgotten. He and his wife came to me for a medical malpractice case. We looked at the matter and decided that while there had been a technical violation of the medical standard of care, which may have resulted in the death of his son, he shouldn't do anything about it. They needed to heal and move on with life instead of engaging in questionable litigation which would prolong their grieving process. The letter thanked me for caring and for my candor. I'm proud of that letter, but I did nothing more than was expected of me as a lawyer. So what's that have to do with getting clients? Everything. Let me explain. For the client to be receptive to advice that they don't want to hear, they must have confidence in you. That confidence is established by how they get to you. My mentor in ethics was an old lawyer by the name of Hedo Zackerley. He was from another era, and he talked like an old lawyer. He used terms like, a lawyer must avoid offensive personalities, and a client must come to the lawyer. The lawyer must never go to the client. Surprisingly, when I studied for the English bar, I found the same concepts. A client must come to the barrister in the right way, they would say. So what's all this mean? The client must choose you not because you chased them or impliedly promised them anything, but because you are competent and objective. Don't ever forget this. The hallmark of a good lawyer is objectivity. Look at it this way. If it were subjectivity, the client would be his or her best lawyer. One who solicits or panders for business is not perceived as being objective. They're trying to sell them to buy your services. We used to call this the implied social contract. You buy from me and I'll give you what you want. Fast forward that scenario to where you have to tell the client that they should do something they don't want to do. In their mind, you've breached the agreement. You didn't give them what they wanted. A few years ago, Frank Magid and Associates, an international research firm, did research regarding lawyer advertising. And they posed this question to their focus group. What would you do when the lawyer who advertised for your business told you something you didn't like or to do something you didn't want to do? What would you do? The unanimous response was shocking. They'd go to a real lawyer. When asked what they meant, they said, one whom they chose. Now, in my mind, it proves the wisdom of what the old lawyers used to say. The client must come to you in the right way. Now, all that sounds good, but we live in the time of the quick fix. You need a client, and you need one now. Just advertise and they'll come. That's what the ad agencies will say, and they're right. But unfortunately, the ad agencies forget about the effect that tactical advertising has on the delivery of legal services and your career. Let me explain. Suppose you want to do criminal law in the fast-paced area of drunk driving. You want to advertise something to the effect that if you drink and drive tonight, call me and I'll make it right. I'll get you off. Sounds good. You'll get calls from all the drunk drivers. But step back and think. Ultimately, you have to take that client before a jury. The same jury that will have heard your television ads promising to get drunk drivers off, You think you're going to win? This is what the old lawyers referred to as avoiding offensive personality. Your advertising actually works against your clients. So how do you get clients? Well, you get them through marketing. And to the extent that you use advertising as part of your marketing plan, it's strategic advertising, not tactical. On the next show, I'll describe the differences between marketing, strategic advertising, and tactical advertising. This is Nick Critelli in Des Moines, and thank you for watching 5 Minute Ethics.